Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Hope your day and your week have been going very well so far. Got a new day, which of course means a new MLB Player Prop video to share with you guys. But first, as always, people, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. It helps the channel grow, and it really does mean a ton to us. With a new day comes some new opportunities to go ahead and make some money. I have 3 fresh new MLB player props to go ahead and share with you guys in today's MLB slate. But first, make sure if you haven't already, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We have tons of great content coming out daily here at Guy Boston Sorts between myself, Ev, and Trey. Me and Ev holding it down with the MLB plays, and Trey absolutely killing it with the WNBA plays. So if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button down below. You don't want to miss a single video because we hand out a lot of winning picks here on this channel. Now, before we dive into today's plays, a quick little recap of how we did yesterday. Jumping on over to GuyBostonSports.com, where you can find all of our recaps, all of our previous final plays, including today's final plays we posted over on the website. So make sure to go ahead and check that out. The link will be down below in the pinned comment for all of today's plays. So I appreciate those who don't fast forward and just jump to the comments for the final plays, but those final plays will be placed in the pinned comment down below. Now, have you guys ever seen the movie Mr. 3000 starring Bernie Mac? I'm Mr. 500 right now because that's what I feel like we've been doing every single day lately. Mine is obviously our big Freaky Friday cash this past Friday. It feels like we've just been cashing 500 every day, and another 500 day yesterday, which it's not bad, but it's not good either. 2-2 yesterday, and honestly, we did lose a little bit yesterday because of how I dispersed the units there. Sal Frelick, he did get a hit, but no runs and no RBI, so that didn't cash. Cam Smith, who I was the most confident in very early on in that game, hits an RBI double and cancels that out. So 2 unfortunate misses. However, Bailey Falter, under 5.5 hits allowed. He only gave up 2 hits last night, so a very good cash there. And Seth Lugo, over 4.5 strikeouts. It was close, but he did cash it with 5 strikeouts in that game. So 2-2, we did lose about 0.5 units because of how I put a little bit extra on that Cam Smith player prop. Unfortunately, that's kind of been the story of this year. When I put a little bit more on it, we tend to lose. But again, if you did tail a couple of those plays, you had a couple winning plays and a couple losing plays. That's kind of been the story of late. And quite frankly, I don't think that's good enough. So let's go ahead and do better today. We only have 3 player props, so we can't go 500 today unless one of the 3 players don't play today. We can't go 500, so 3 player props coming your way right now. Let's go ahead and sweep the board today, guys. All right, guys, our first player prop in today's video, we're targeting the Blue Jays-Orioles game, an early game today, 12:35 p.m. first pitch. So go ahead and get this in as soon as you can when you watch this video because you've only got a couple hours until first pitch. But Blue Jays-Orioles, we have Addison Barger of the Toronto Blue Jays over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. Now, I'm grabbing this personally for -145 over on DraftKings, but as is normally the case with a lot of these player props, it's available in a lot of different sports books for varying odds. So like I always say, guys, make sure to go ahead and shop around for the best sportsbook odds available. All right, let's jump over to the outlier screen to go ahead and dive into the data on this player prop for Addison Barger. Pretty good numbers here. 6 of his last 10 games, he's cashed this over, averaging 2.1 hits, runs, RBIs per game over his last 10 games. So not too shabby. You go ahead and stretch the data out to the last 20 games. Still pretty darn solid there. 65% hit rate over the last 20 games, averaging 2.25 hits, runs, RBIs per game over the last 20 games. And then if you go ahead and stretch that data out to the entire season view for Addison Barger, a 56% hit rate on the over. So pretty good numbers there. 2.07 average hits, runs, RBIs per game this season. You do see a lot of green. More often than not, he's cashing the over, which obviously is very good for us. And then even if we go ahead and look at the head-to-head data, a 56% hit rate against the Baltimore Orioles across their last 9 matchups. Again, averaging 2.22 hits, runs, RBIs per game across those last 9 matchups. So across the board, last 10 games, last 20 games, overall in 2025, even the head-to-head data, everything is at least 56%, and the averages are all over 2 hits, runs, RBI. So basically speaking, all we need him to do is play average, do his average performance, and we go ahead and we cash the over here. To narrow this head-to-head data down a little bit, he's played them 3 times so far this season, all in the last couple of days. He's cashed the over in 2 of those last 3 meetings this year, including each of the last 2 days. They had a doubleheader yesterday. he cashed the over in both games of the doubleheader. And if we go ahead and look at the insight provided by Outlier, this is a nice little nugget for this player prop here. Addison Barger has exceeded 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs in 14 of his last 18 games on the road. He's averaging 2.3 hits, runs, RBIs per game across the last 18 road games. So phenomenal data there. That's a 78% hit rate over his last 18 road games. So across the board, just really solid data. Now, looking down below at the key matchup stats, Addison Barger versus Dean Kremer, the Orioles pitcher. Very small sample size in terms of head-to-head data, only 2 plate appearances since 2018, but Addison Barger has no data, no hits, no home runs, and no RBIs against Dean Kremer in those 2 plate appearances. Again, very limited sample size. Take it with a grain of salt. Barger this year is batting .267 overall with a 124.8 WRC plus. Versus right-handed pitchers, the numbers do get better. He's batting .279 on the year with a 136.3 WRC plus. And looking at Dean Kremer's numbers, overall, they're not bad, but not good either. 4.23 ERA, 2.55 batting average allowed, definitely a little bit on the higher side, which obviously is good for us here. Versus left-handed batters, like Addison Barger, it actually does get better for us. The batting average increases, home runs per 9, WOBA, they all increase. The only thing that decreases is his ERA, but I'm not too concerned about that. And if we look down below at Addison Barger versus Dean Kremer's pitch arsenal, honestly, it's a lot of good numbers. Now, from his overall numbers, Addison Barger has a 350 WOBA overall this year. Now, look at for the first of the fastball, which is Dean Kremer's most utilized pitch, 26%. Now, that is a decrease from his overall 350 WOBA. It goes down to 322. But it's still not bad. 322 is still a decent number. It's a decrease, yes, but still pretty solid. But if you keep going down the list of Dean Kremer's pitches, it's actually pretty good. Look at versus the cutter. Okay, 20% of his pitches are cutter. 411 WOBA. Look at versus the splitter, 19.8% of his pitches. 871 WOBA. Now, only 12 plate appearances, only 39 pitches of this nature has he faced, but 871 WOBA. Look at versus the sinker, his 4th most utilized pitch, 19.6%. 358 WOBA. Okay, you have to really go all the way to his 5th most utilized pitch, the curveball, to find an area where Addison Barger genuinely struggles with. Because even the fastball, yes, it's in the red, but 322 is still a pretty decent number there. And then one final data point, finally, before we move on from this one player prop. If you go over to the dashboard over on Guy Boston Sports, you'll see the last 30-day data for Addison Barger to kind of narrow it down. And Addison Barger versus right-handed pitchers over the last month, 328 batting average with a 1.008 OPS. So he's been very good in general versus right-handed pitchers overall this year. But over the last month, he's been very, very solid. And to add to it, the Orioles bullpen, bottom 5 in both ERA and WHIP. So even when they pulled Dean Kremer, Addison Barger should be able to have some success against the Orioles bullpen. So a phenomenal player prop. It's a little high on the odds for -145, but certainly worth the value. All right, guys, our second player prop in today's video. Moving on to the Red Sox-Twins game, 1:10 p.m. first pitch. We got Masataka Yoshida of the Red Sox under 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. I'm grabbing it for -110 over on DraftKings. Again, we got a lot of different options for this one on a number of different sports books. Now, not a ton of data to go off of with this player prop because Yoshida has only played in like 12 games this year for Boston. So, not a lot to go off of, but using what we have to go off of, the data looks pretty good. You see 8 of his last 10 games, he's cashed this under, averaging just 0.6 hits, runs, RBIs per game over the last 10 games. And if we do go ahead and look at his entire 2025 season numbers, you'll see a 75% hit rate. Again, he's only played 12 games this year, but he's cashed the under in 9 of those 12 games, averaging just 1 hit, run, RBI per game this season. And again, that first game versus Colorado back on July 9th, where he had 3 hits, 1 run, and 1 RBI, they kind of skew that average up. Since the Colorado game, nothing's come even close to that for Yoshida. And he's not really a stranger to this under. Even look at 2024, he cashed this under at a 53% hit rate last year. So he consistently cashes this under of 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. Now, if we do go ahead and look at the head-to-head data, we have 1 game from this year to go off of. The rest of the data is from last year. But 2 of the last 4 meetings with the Twins, he's cashed the under, averaging 2 hits, runs, RBIs per game. Again, both the cashes on the over were in September of last year. So very different circumstances over a year ago, or close to a year ago, I should say. He has played them once this year, 2 days ago on July 28th. He did have a hit against them, but no runs and no RBI. So I'm trusting that Yoshida, who as a Red Sox fan I've watched plenty of and watched him disappoint me over and over again, I'm expecting Yoshida to go ahead and disappoint me again today, which using reverse psychology, will actually not disappoint me. Look, I'm not somebody who likes to bet against their own team. I understand the superstition with that, but I do think like betting against your own players and your own team, there's a positive, because even if Yoshida does cash this over, I'll lose money, I'll be disappointed, but as a Red Sox fan, I'll be like, hey, Yoshida actually did something for once. But obviously, if he just keeps doing what he's normally doing, which is cashing the under, I'll be a happy guy because I won some money, even though deep down I'd be devastated because we spent a lot of money on Yoshida, and he's been a massive disappointment for the Red Sox. Anyways, I digress. And also the insights provided by Outlier. Yoshida has failed to exceed 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs in 10 of his last 12 games on the road. This dates back to last year as well, averaging less than 1 hit, run, RBI per game over the last 12 road games. So far this year, he's played 6 road games. He's cashed the under in 4 of the 6 road games. So pretty good numbers there. And looking down below at the matchup stats, Yoshida versus Zebby Matthews. 2 plate appearances since 2018. He's done a whole lot of nothing against them, which is not uncommon to see for Yoshida. But like the last player prop, only 2 plate appearances, so take it with a grain of salt. Not a lot of data to go off of there. Yoshida this season, 220 batting average, 39.6 WRC plus overall. Versus right-handed pitchers, it gets even worse. 179 batting average and an 18.8 WRC plus, so it's even worse when facing off right-handed pitchers. Again, I have to mention, because I have to be fully transparent, take it with a grain of salt. Only 42 plate appearances this year and only 29 plate appearances versus right-handed pitchers, so a smaller sample size for sure. And looking at Zebby Matthews, his numbers are not very good at first glance. They do get a little bit better versus left-handed batters. 250 batting average allowed, 298 WOBA. His ERA and his home runs per 9 do increase. Again, this is more about betting on Yoshida failing to come through more than it is Zebby Matthews shutting Yoshida down. So not the best matchup of all time in terms of Yoshida versus the pitcher, but I do overall like the matchup. Yoshida has a 233 WOBA this year. Now versus the fastball, which is his most utilized pitch at 44.1% for Zebby Matthews, you do see that Yoshida's numbers do increase a little bit, 255 WOBA, but again, that's not a very good number. For Yoshida, I guess it's good, but 255 is still pretty low, so I'm not really too concerned about that. Also look at Zebby Matthews' second most utilized pitch, the slider, and you get a 180 WOBA, and you kind of just go down the line. Again, very small sample sizes, but he hasn't had much success against a lot of the pitches that Zebby Matthews throws out. So again, I'm more or less riding on the fact that Yoshida has been terrible and hoping he continues that, but my luck, obviously, he'll hit like 4. He'll have like a Nick Kurtz game, 4 home runs and 6 hits, but we're going with Yoshida under 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs for -110. The value is certainly there. And moving on to our third and final player prop, guys, but before we do that, I want to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's video and all my player prop videos here on the channel, Outlier. Everything you've seen so far in the video, minus of course the dashboard stuff, is brought to you by Outlier. It's the best sports betting tool in the market, and we have a special offer using the link in the description. You get a 7-day free trial to check Outlier out for yourself. It truly is the best sports betting tool on the market. If you go ahead and see everything I've shown you in this video, like I said, minus the dashboard stuff, has been from Outlier. And again, I'm only showing you guys a little bit of what Outlier provides. I haven't even shown you guys the heat maps. There's so much more the Outlier, and this is just the player props. There's also the game lines, there's insights, there's EV+, there's arbitrage betting. There's so much stuff that Outlier has. Unfortunately, I don't have the time to show you guys everything, so to go ahead and explore it for yourself, go ahead and use that link down below in the description. That gives you guys a 7-day free trial to go ahead and check Outlier out for yourself. With baseball in full swing, pun intended, WNBA, football on the horizon, NBA will be here before you know it. Hockey will be here before you know it. It's just great to have for all kinds of different sports. It has data for all those sports I mentioned, including even soccer. So go ahead and check it out one more time. Link down below in the description. 7-day free trial. Shout out to Outlier for being a fantastic sponsor of Guy Boston Sports. So our third player prop in today's video and our final player prop in today's video comes from the Rangers-Angels game. A little bit later, 9:38 p.m. first pitch. You got Jack Peterson of the Rangers under 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. I'm grabbing it personally for -125 over on DraftKings. Again, you got some different options there for varying odds. And similar to the last player prop, the data is really good. A little bit of a smaller sample size than other players, but pretty good numbers here. Jack Peterson has cashed this under in 9 of his last 10 games, including 8 consecutive games. He's cashed the under, averaging just 0.7 hits, runs, RBIs per game over his last 10. If you do take the entire 2025 season data into consideration, an 82% hit rate on this under for Jack Peterson, 40 out of 49 games. He's cashed the under, averaging just 0.69 hits, runs, RBIs per game this year. Not only do you see a lot of green in this data chart for the season, you also see a lot of zeros. Not only is he cashing the under, he's barely registering stats this year. And if you go back to the last 10 game data, you do see there was almost like a 2-month, literally a 2-month period where he just didn't play for the Rangers. I forget if he was hurt. I'm pretty sure they just pulled him from the lineup because he was so bad. But May 24th, and then he doesn't play again until this little series here. He's played the last 3 games, July 27th, 28th, and 29th, and he's gotten straight zeros across the board in those 3 games. If we look at the head-to-head data as well, again, those last 3 games we mentioned, he's actually played them 4 times this year, the Angels, and he's 0-4 in terms of the over, 100% in terms of the under, and he has literally recorded no stats, 0 hits, runs, RBIs in all 4 games against the Angels this year. 6 of the last 7, he's cashed the under dating back to last season. That's an 86% hit rate, averaging 1.43 hits, runs, RBIs per game across the last 7 matchups with the Angels. He weirdly has his game on June 13th of last year where you just see a bunch of zeros. He had 1 hit on June 11th of last year, but he has this one game where he had 2 hits, 2 runs, and 5 RBIs against the Angels back on June 13th. Now, granted, he's with the Diamondbacks at the time, so a little bit of a different situation. But yeah, very weird data points there, but pretty good numbers across the board for Joc Pederson. We also have the insights provided by Outlier. Joc Pederson has failed to exceed 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs in 8 straight games on the road, averaging just 0.4 hits, runs, RBIs per game across the last 8 road games. So really, really good for us. Terrible for Joc Pederson. But again, very good for us. And if we scroll down below to the key matchup stats, it just kind of gets better for us here. Joc Pederson versus Jose Soriano, the Angels pitcher. 7 plate appearances since 2018. So a decent sample size, not a huge sample size, but halfway decent. 7 plate appearances, 0 hits, 0 home runs, 0 RBIs with a 14.3% strikeout rate, which is a little low, but only 7 plate appearances. But yeah, a whole lot of zeros there, as is per usual, I guess, with Joc Pederson. Overall, the series batting 122 with a 41.4 WRC plus. Not to give you guys a spoiler alert, but spoiler alert, that's egregious. And then versus right-handed pitchers, his batting average goes up slightly to 126, but his WRC plus drops to 32.5. And Jose Soriano, his numbers all decrease versus left-handed batters like Joc Pederson. So very good matchup in that terms. And if we go over here, Joc Pederson, 228 WOBA on the year, 20% strikeout rate versus the sinker, which is Jose Soriano's number 1 pitch, 50.5% of his pitches. His WOBA does increase. So trying to be transparent, that's the one area where it's like, ooh, you don't want to see that. He's actually hitting the ball decently well. Still not great, but decently well against the sinker. And then if you go to the curveball, though, it drops right back down to .047. Fastball, 261, but only 7.8. So the sinker, again, 289, a little on the high, especially versus his 228 average. A lot higher, but again, I'm not too concerned. He's been terrible all year long. Even if he gets a run or maybe a hit, I don't think he's going to be able to put it all together and cash the over. So for -125, for a guy who's cashing this at an 86% hit rate this year, 82% hit rate this year, and 86% from a head-to-head perspective, I think the data speaks for itself. This is a really solid player prop to close out today's video. All right, guys, that is it for me today. Thank you very much, as always, for watching one more time. Please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. We'll be back tomorrow with another MLB Player Prop video. Until then, guys, I hope you're all winners. Enjoy your Wednesday. Let's go ahead and make some money.